Hey, it's Natalie here. Well, we are going to be cooking spaghetti squash today. I'm going to show you just how simple it really can be to make it. Now, this is our first video in the new video series, How Do I Cook That? And this idea came from when I was talking to a friend a few weeks ago about what I was making for the holidays. And she said, oh, I couldn't make that. I wouldn't even know where to start. So that got me thinking that a lot of people, and you may be one of those people, you stay away from vegetables that you're uncomfortable with, you're not quite sure how to cook. So this video series is all about teaching you how simple it can be to prepare vegetables. And of course, that will help you eat more of them, which will make a healthier you. So, spaghetti squash. I love spaghetti squash because 1 cup of cooked spaghetti squash is only about 40 calories. Compare that to 1 cup of whole wheat pasta, that's 220 calories. So if you mix some of your whole wheat pasta with spaghetti squash, which looks like pasta, or looks like spaghetti noodles, then you're saving yourself a ton of calories. You're gonna get more fiber, lots more nutrients, and it's a great way to get more vegetables into your day. So some recipes will have you slice the spaghetti squash in half and then bake it. The simplest thing you can do actually is just take your spaghetti squash. It's going to be about 3 pounds, 3.5 pounds. You're just going to pierce it all over with a small sharp knife. And it has a really tough outer rind, so you're going to stick it in and kind of just pierce it. Be careful with this knife. Turn it a little bit, pierce it all over. All right. Okay, a few more holes, and this allows the heat to really get into the interior part of the squash. Now, nobody cut a finger off, so be careful with this knife. Okay, 1 more hole. Okay. And this actually is a lot easier. The reason why is because this outer skin is so dense and so thick that when you do try to slice it in half before it's roasted, even with a really sharp knife, it can be really difficult. So I like this method better. Then you're just going to take a rimmed baking sheet. I've lined it with parchment paper, and you are simply going to place it on your baking sheet. And then you're going to pop it into the oven. The oven has been preheated to 375 degrees. You're going to bake it for about 1 hour and 20 minutes. Halfway through, you're just going to flip it over. Probably going to have to use mitts at that point because it's going to be hot. And then I'll show you what it looks like and how we're going to prepare it once it's done cooking. Okay, now I have taken out my spaghetti squash out of the oven. It's cool enough to where I can touch it a little bit. You can see it has a nice brown. Let me turn it around so you can see that part too. It's really got a nice roasted golden color, so you know it's cooked well. Okay, so it's going to be much softer now to cut through. So I'm going to spin this around a little bit, cut it long ways. And this is going to allow you to access the middle to get all the seeds. Sometimes that end is still kind of tough to cut through. There we go. Okay, now the steam's coming out, so I'm going to use some utensils to open this baby up. All right. So now what you do at this stage is you're going to use a spoon and a fork, and you're just going to use the spoon first of all to scrape out kind of that filling where all the seeds are. All right, I have gotten all the seeds out. Okay, now we are ready for you to use your fork and to scrape out your actual spaghetti squash. So all you do, you really just take your fork and you just go with the grain of the squash, which means like if the squash lines are going this way, then you would rake across the line, and that helps separate the little strands of squash. And just continue to scrape this until you get to the the skin, and that way you get all the squash out. And the awesome thing about the spaghetti squash is that it's really so low in calorie. 40 calories for a full cup, no fat, no saturated fat, 30 milligrams of sodium, of course, before you add any seasoning, 10 grams of carbohydrates, which is so low compared to what you would find in pasta, 2 grams of fiber, 4 grams of sugar, very low, and then 1 gram of protein. So it's really a great foundation if you're making a pasta dish or you just want it in a standalone dish by itself. My favorite way to make it is to mix the spaghetti noodles with, spaghetti squash noodles with a little bit of butter, salt, pepper, and Parmesan cheese with chopped fresh parsley. And it's just delicious, just that simply. It's so good. See you next time. Bye-bye.